Robert Arrington was a man whose life was marked by quiet dignity and unseen battles. A story many never had the chance to know, but one that deserves to be shared. At first glance, Robert might have seemed like just another person trying to make his way through life, blending into the crowd without fanfare. But beneath that surface was a complex, sensitive soul with dreams, fears, and struggles that shaped him deeply. Born in a small town surrounded by a close-knit family, Robert's childhood was filled with moments of warmth and encouragement. His parents nurtured his curiosity and artistic talents, always believing that their son had the potential to do great things. Robert loved to create. Drawing, painting, and sketching became his escape from a world that often felt harsh and confusing. Yet, as he grew older, the pressures of life weighed heavily on him. The mental health struggles that Robert faced weren't visible to most people, but they were relentless and all-consuming. His story is heartbreaking because it reminds us how sometimes even the kindest, most talented people can face overwhelming darkness that no one sees coming. Today, we are going to dive deep into Robert's life and tragedy in 8 parts, starting from his early years full of hope, through the difficult struggles he encountered, the support he sought, the moments that could have changed everything, the tragic day that changed everything forever, the aftermath felt by his loved ones and community, the lessons his story teaches us about compassion and awareness, and finally, how we can honor his memory by making a difference in the lives of others. This is not just a tale of sorrow, but a powerful reminder of why empathy matters and why no one should ever suffer alone. Robert Arrington's early life was a tapestry woven with moments of pure innocence, joy, and the unshakable hope that often characterizes childhood. In those early years, the world was a vast landscape filled with endless possibilities, a place where imagination could soar freely, and the future was a bright, unwritten story. Robert was born into a humble, loving home where warmth and encouragement surrounded him. His parents, though not wealthy, understood the priceless value of nurturing creativity and emotional expression, and they made it their mission to foster an environment where their son's talents could flourish. From a very young age, Robert displayed an insatiable curiosity about the world around him. Whether it was the changing colors of the sky at dusk or the way the leaves danced in the wind, he observed everything with a deep sense of wonder and fascination. But what truly set Robert apart was his profound connection to art. To him, art was far more than a pastime or a simple hobby. It was a vital form of communication, a way to speak the feelings and thoughts he found difficult to put into words. When Robert held a pencil or brush in his hand, he entered a different realm where he could pour out his inner world onto paper or canvas. His drawings and paintings were filled with vivid detail, emotion, and sensitivity, capturing not only what he saw but also the complex feelings simmering beneath the surface. His parents recognized this gift early on and became his biggest champions. They saw not only the beauty in his creations but also the way art seemed to bring Robert a sense of peace and purpose, envisioning a future where his talents would blossom into a career, where he could inspire others with his work and find happiness in his passion. However, even in this nurturing environment, the shadows of difficulty began to appear. As Robert grew older, the world outside his home felt less welcoming. At school and in social settings, he sometimes struggled to find his place. He felt different from many of his peers, isolated by his intense sensitivity and unique way of seeing the world. These feelings of being misunderstood or left out were subtle at first, but grew heavier during adolescence, a time when the desire to belong becomes even more intense. Alongside these social challenges, the pressures of life slowly started to press down on Robert. His family faced financial struggles that introduced new worries and responsibilities. The carefree days of childhood began to shrink as the realities of growing up, expectations, competition, and uncertainty came into sharper focus. On top of that, Robert started to experience the early signs of mental health challenges, including anxiety and depression, which added an invisible but powerful weight to his daily life. Despite these mounting difficulties, Robert's heart clung fiercely to his dreams. He imagined a future where his art would not only be a source of income, but a beacon of hope and connection for others. He wanted to build a life filled with meaning, where his creativity could shine brightly despite the hardships. This contrast between his hopeful dreams and the harshness of his reality created a poignant tension that defined much of his journey. His story is a vivid reminder that early promise and potential are often tested by life's unexpected struggles, yet it also shines a light on a resilient spirit, one that refused to give up completely on hope, even when the odds seemed overwhelming. Robert's early life reflects the complex blend of innocence, creativity, struggle, and determination that so many people experience but few fully understand. As Robert grew older, the challenges he faced didn't just increase, they multiplied, becoming heavier burdens that slowly wore down his spirit. What began as occasional bouts of sadness or anxiety gradually morphed into something much darker, much more pervasive. Like many who suffer silently, Robert wrestled with depression and anxiety that didn't just touch certain moments or days, but seeped into every corner of his existence. Tasks that most people take for granted, getting out of bed, preparing a meal, answering a phone call, became mountains so steep and exhausting that they sometimes felt impossible to climb. The weight of his mental health struggles was relentless, eroding his energy and hope bit by bit. But perhaps what made it even more painful was the environment around him. The world, often cold and unforgiving, didn't offer the compassion or understanding he so desperately needed. Instead, vulnerability was frequently met with skepticism or judgment, as if mental illness was a choice or a personal failing rather than the complex health issue it truly is. This lack of empathy only deepened Robert's isolation, making it harder for him to reach out or trust others with his pain. Financial instability added another crushing layer to Robert's struggle. Securing steady work was a constant challenge. Whether due to his fluctuating mental state or simply the difficulty of finding a reliable job, Robert faced the harsh reality of living paycheck to paycheck. The stress of unpaid bills, looming rent deadlines, and everyday expenses created a vicious cycle that felt inescapable. Every month was a new fight to keep his head above water, and the financial pressure only amplified the anxiety and despair already clouding his mind. It's a scenario many people with mental health struggles know all too well. When you're fighting to survive emotionally and mentally, financial worries can make the burden feel almost unbearable. The toll wasn't just financial. Relationships, which once offered comfort and connection, began to fray under the mounting strain. Friends who had been a source of joy and support drifted away, sometimes because they didn't understand what Robert was going through, other times because he withdrew, unable to explain the storm inside him. Misunderstandings piled up, creating distance where there once was closeness. Even family members who loved him dearly and wanted to help sometimes found themselves at a loss, struggling to fully grasp the invisible depth of his pain. It's a heartbreaking reality that mental illness can create a barrier not just within a person, but between them and those who care most, despite everyone's best intentions. Robert's art, which had always been a sanctuary and a way to express what words couldn't, also began to suffer under the weight of his mental health challenges. The vibrant passion and joy he once poured into his creations faded. His sketches and paintings, once bursting with life and meaning, grew darker and less frequent. The very thing that had been his refuge and source of identity started to slip away, swallowed by the relentless cloud of depression. It's crucial to understand that Robert's struggles were not a result of laziness, lack of willpower, or personal failure. Mental health conditions are incredibly complex and often invisible battles that no one chooses to fight. The stigma surrounding mental illness, which still persists in many communities, only made it harder for Robert to seek help openly. He often felt ashamed or hesitant, worried that asking for support would label him as weak or a burden to those around him. This shame is one of the cruelest aspects of mental illness. It isolates and silences those who need connection the most. Robert's story is not unique, sadly. It echoes the experiences of countless others who battle similar demons in silence. His life is a powerful reminder of the urgent need for communities to come together, to build better support systems, and to foster environments where people feel safe and encouraged to speak openly about their struggles. By promoting understanding, compassion, and access to proper care, we can hope to prevent despair from taking hold before it becomes too overwhelming. Robert's journey shows us how critical it is to break the silence and to meet those suffering with empathy, not judgment. Despite the overwhelming darkness that seemed to constantly surround Robert, he demonstrated remarkable courage in his efforts to seek help. It's important to understand just how difficult this can be for someone struggling with mental health challenges. Reaching out means opening up wounds that are often deeply painful and frightening. Robert took that brave step, contacting therapists and mental health professionals in search of guidance, comfort, and a way to find even a small glimmer of light amid the heavy shadows clouding his mind. Throughout his journey, there were moments when hope appeared within reach, fleeting but precious, like rays of sunshine breaking through storm clouds. During those times, Robert could almost imagine a future where the pain would ease, where life would regain some of its color and meaning. His family, though sometimes unsure how to fully help, stood by him steadfastly. A few close friends also rallied around Robert, offering words of encouragement and acts of kindness, reminding him that he was not isolated in his struggle, that people cared deeply for him, even if the battle he faced was invisible to most. Yet, mental health recovery is rarely a straightforward or linear path. It is often a winding road filled with setbacks, relapses, small victories, and moments of crushing disappointment. For Robert, some therapies he tried did not bring the relief he so desperately sought. Some medications had side effects that drained his energy further, and some counseling sessions brought up painful memories that temporarily deepened his despair. These ups and downs took a heavy toll on his spirit, testing his resolve again and again. But even in the bleakest moments, there was a flicker of resilience within him. The very act of reaching out for help, of continuing to fight even when it felt hopeless or futile, speaks volumes about Robert's inner strength, an often invisible strength that those outside may not easily see or understand. His story reveals the complexities of mental illness in stark detail, not just the emotional pain, but how it affects every aspect of a person's life: relationships, self-esteem, motivation, and physical health. Recovery, Robert's experience teaches us, requires more than just medical treatment. It demands patience from both the individual and those around them, deep understanding that healing isn't quick or easy, and ongoing support from family, friends, and society at large. His journey reminds us that mental health struggles are lifelong for many people, and that compassion must be continuous, not just offered in moments of crisis. Most importantly, it shows us that while healing is possible, it is often a long, complicated process full of twists and turns, one that requires community, empathy, and unwavering commitment to help someone reclaim their life bit by bit. The tragedy of Robert Arrington reached its heartbreaking and devastating climax on one quiet evening, a night that seemed ordinary on the surface but would forever change the lives of everyone who knew him. No one saw it coming. There were no clear warnings or signs that could have prepared his family, friends, or community for the unimaginable loss that was about to occur. Robert had been carrying the heavy burden of his struggles for a long time. The crushing loneliness that isolates, the relentless pain that refuses to ease, and the despair so deep it numbs the very soul. Despite his efforts to cope, the weight of these invisible wounds became unbearable. On that tragic evening, overwhelmed by emotions that felt impossible to escape, Robert made a decision that shocked and shattered those around him. His loss was sudden and complete, leaving a void so profound that countless people were left grappling with questions that might never find answers. The echoes of grief stretched far beyond his immediate family, touching everyone who had ever crossed paths with him or admired his quiet strength from afar. It was a painful and jarring reminder of just how fragile life is, especially for those who suffer silently in the shadows of mental illness, where pain often hides behind smiles and struggles go unnoticed until it's too late. In the days and weeks that followed, the sorrow felt by Robert's loved ones was intensified by the difficult and haunting question: could more have been done? Was there a missed opportunity, a moment overlooked, or a sign that was ignored? These questions do not come with easy answers, and the search for closure became a journey in itself, one marked by both heartbreak and reflection. Robert's passing serves as a stark illustration of a broader, deeply troubling issue facing society today: the glaring gaps in mental health care. Many individuals battling depression, anxiety, and other disorders are left without adequate support or early intervention, increasing the risk of tragic outcomes. His story forces us to confront the uncomfortable reality that, despite advances in medicine and awareness, countless lives are lost every year to mental health struggles that go unnoticed or untreated. It calls on us to recognize the urgent need to improve mental health services, to educate communities on the warning signs of distress, and to foster environments where people feel safe to speak openly about their pain without fear of stigma or judgment. Yet, within this heartbreaking tragedy lies a powerful and vital call to action. Robert's story reminds us that mental health deserves the same level of care, attention, and urgency as physical health. It is a plea for compassion, understanding, and above all, connection, because no one should ever feel so isolated or hopeless that they believe there is no way forward. His life and death shine a light on the importance of reaching out, listening closely, and standing alongside those who are struggling. In honoring Robert's memory, we also embrace the responsibility to fight for a future where fewer families face such profound loss, and where every individual's suffering is met with support rather than silence. This tragedy, as painful as it is, becomes a catalyst for change, urging us all to recognize that behind every lost life is a story worth hearing and a life worth saving. The aftermath of Robert's death was a profound shock that rippled through the lives of everyone who knew him, hitting hardest those who loved him most. The pain of losing a loved one to such a sudden and tragic event is something that words can barely capture. For Robert's parents and siblings, the grief was overwhelming and all-consuming, a heavy weight that seemed impossible to carry. It was not just sorrow, but a tangled mix of confusion, anger, and the agonizing question that haunts so many left behind. Why did this happen? Could we have done something differently? They were forced to navigate the heartbreak of their loss while grappling with feelings of helplessness, replaying moments in their minds, searching for signs they might have missed or opportunities to intervene that slipped away unnoticed. This unbearable sorrow created a void in their daily lives, meals eaten in silence, rooms filled with memories of laughter and love now hauntingly quiet, and the ache of absence that never truly fades. Friends who had shared parts of Robert's journey also found themselves caught in a storm of guilt and regret. Many looked back on conversations and encounters with painful hindsight, wondering if there were clues they overlooked, moments when they could have reached out more or listened more closely. The silence that often surrounds mental health struggles can leave those left behind feeling powerless and questioning their own actions, trapped in a cycle of what-ifs that serve only to deepen the grief. Yet, even in the midst of such pain, there was an outpouring of love and support as friends came together to remember Robert, not just the loss but the person he was. His community, though perhaps quiet in their admiration during his life, suddenly found themselves united in mourning. Many were surprised by the depth of his impact, realizing too late how much his kindness, creativity, and gentle spirit had touched their lives. The memorials and tributes that followed were poignant and deeply moving. They became spaces where people could share stories, laugh through tears, and honor the warmth of Robert's spirit and the beauty of his art. His paintings and sketches, once private expressions of his inner world, became powerful symbols of his life and legacy, reminding those who saw them of his unique vision and sensitivity. Beyond the personal grief, Robert's tragic passing sparked broader conversations about mental health awareness and the urgent need for more effective support systems. His story became a catalyst for change, inspiring friends, family, and community members to advocate for greater compassion, better resources, and a society more willing to confront the realities of mental illness openly and without judgment. Through their grief, those who loved Robert found a new purpose, turning sorrow into action, striving to ensure that fewer lives would be lost in silence. In this way, Robert's legacy transcends the tragedy of his death. His life, though cut short, remains a powerful testament to the profound effect one individual can have on those around them. Even in loss, his story continues to inspire empathy, awareness, and hope. It reminds us that behind every struggle is a human being worthy of love and understanding, and that through community, connection, and kindness, we can honor their memory and work to prevent future heartbreaks. The heartbreaking story of Robert Arrington offers us profound lessons that extend far beyond his personal tragedy, lessons that hold the potential to save countless lives in the future if we take them to heart. At the very core, Robert's experience shines a spotlight on the critical importance of mental health awareness. Mental health conditions such as depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder,